a four-letter guy in football or soccer or whatever, and they find out that they cannot do this at all.
Yes, yes. There have been many a time that I've seen people that have been incredible athletes or have accomplished amazing things in athletics and have tried to make the transition into professional wrestling or sports entertainment and have realized that as far as just from the athletic side, it's a completely different way of using your body, and from the mental side, it is a complete different state of mind, and it really is a unique art form. It's a combination of both physical and mental and psychological storytelling ability. It takes a really unique kind of person to do this quite well.
You know, the one thing that I've noticed in watching all three of the Tough Enoughs, and also I find that people come to my camp the same way, is that this is a physical pursuit. You have to be a good athlete, and yet we both find guys coming in who are horribly out of shape, and they think, well, it won't matter. I'll work myself into shape in a few minutes.
Right, yeah. Again, that's that whole, watching the guy on TV and, suspending their own disbelief and believing that, wow, it looks so good and so easy that, oh, I can do it too. And they come in and they've got, a chest like they've had a litter of puppies, and it ain't going to happen. I mean, it just doesn't happen. A lot of people see the guys in the ring and they think, well, that it's because they're bodybuilders or something. No, it's because literally they train 5, 6, 7 days a week because they're actual athletes. This is an athletic endeavor. And I think you'll find, you've noticed this too, that guys that from football and other contact sports have gotten in here and realized just how physical this is and how much it actually hurts compared to those other sports, and are really taken back by it and sometimes can't cope with it.
Absolutely. Well, you've had some good athletes from other pursuits come into Tough Enough, and they've washed out on you.
Yeah.
And, I think this time around, you and Bill DeMont, what I'm enjoying seeing is where you guys are getting a little tougher and getting in the trainees' faces, because I think you and I both know that is more the realism of what it takes to become a professional wrestler.
Yeah, the business has changed, we both know, dramatically. And it's not what it was definitely when you got in and when I got in 20 years ago. But I remember when it was so protected, even when I got in, that, they call it hazing, but it wasn't really hazing. There was so much passion involved in this business to pursue it and to really do it well, that the guys that were in it wanted to protect it so much so that they wanted to make sure that if you got in it, that you, 1, earned it, and 2, really wanted it, and 3, would then protect it with your life, because it was their life and it was their livelihood, and they just didn't want to let absolutely anybody into it. And granted, the business has changed, but that's kind of one of the main things that I try to look for and try to tear away all the other layers and find out if they really have, and that's passion. Because they can have the absolute, and I'm sure you'll agree, they have all the talent in the world, absolutely the most charisma and incredible acting ability and a great look, and everything else means nothing in this business, in this pursuit. It means absolutely nothing if they don't have the absolute passion, the drive to do this. That thing in their heart that tells them that they have to do this, and they don't know why, and if you ask them, they can't explain it to you. If a guy you can go up to a guy and say, why do you want to be a wrestler? And he can sit there and give you a 5-minute dissertation. He obviously doesn't want to be one. Or he doesn't want to be one for the right reason. But if you go up and ask a guy why you want to be, and because to this day, Les, I'm sure you could say the same thing. After all the years you've been in the business, people ask you why you do it, you still don't know.
You're right.
You can't figure it out, because there are times you absolutely hate this business, detest it, and there are times you love it, and you just sit there and you go, but you don't know, there's nothing else you'd rather do.
But it is that passion. You've had thousands of matches. I've had thousands of matches. If you go to a Chris Benoit,
Well, you've had millions.
or a Ric Flair and say, have you had the best match you could ever have? They're going to say no.
Right. Or what's the match that you like the most?
Right.
Nobody can give you that answer,
Right.
because they like them all for one reason or another.
Exactly. I don't think there's anything that you couldn't explain, you or I, to the viewing public, what we would call zone. You get in that ring, you've got the crowd right here. You take them up, you take them down. You're looking for an oxygen tent because you know you can't last the rest of the night, but you'd love to stay out there for hours and hours, right?
And I think the only thing I can explain to them is that when you're in that moment, when you walk through, and from that moment until you walk back, it has got to be the most alive that you can feel. Like there's nothing sex, winning the lottery. I mean, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that can compare to it, and nobody can understand it or explain it until they do it. The ability to, and unlike any other entertainer or performer, because they're movie stars and everything, but they're on the big screen, you know, concert, they're playing music, but to come out there and literally take control over 20,000 people's emotions and literally take them on a story and tell them, you know, tell the story through your physical actions, and you get your adrenaline going and the physical contact and the ability to feel that energy from the audience and being able to manipulate it and control it and bring it up and bring it down. There's nothing else like it.
Nothing like it at all. Now, you've finished up Tough Enough 3. We don't know who the winners are yet, but I know you're back in action yourself some now. When the wrestling career itself is over, do you want to go back to full-time training? Because I know you ran a school up in Lima for several years, and then, of course, your WWE schedule dictated that you had to shut that down. You weren't home enough.
Right. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I'm sure you faced this yourself, Les, when things were coming to that point that you just don't know what it is that what do you do? I mean, I've done this my entire adult life. I don't know what I could imagine that would be the same as this. And probably at some point I'm going to have to come to some kind of resolution to just accept the fact that there's never going to be something like this again in my life that's going to be at this level as far as just sheer passion that I have to do it. But, you know, the future's open. I mean, there are all kinds of possibilities. I'd love to do commentating again. I think that maybe I would have a position as far as training, which I really like to do. Maybe I could go and do some acting in Hollywood. I'd love to do that too. So
you know what? I think if the fans could see you and Mick Foley off camera, there would be it wouldn't be Laurel and Hardy. It may not be Abbott and Costello, but it'd be good.
Yeah, it's close to Martin and Lewis, I think.
Al, I'm going to tell you what, I think you've done us all proud. I know when I watch Tough Enough, I feel proud to be a trainer because I think you've elevated the fact that it takes an outstanding human being to make it in this business. And
it's a compliment coming from you and from other people that I respect so much so, because without you and everybody else that went before me or these guys, there would be no business now. And for you to tell me that you appreciate what I've tried to do to elevate this business and to is an extreme compliment to me, because I respect yours and all the other veterans' opinions and what your values are, because it's what's made this business what it is. And if we ever lose that, as much as this business changes, we can never, ever lose the absolute heart and soul of this business, because if we do, it will change to the point to where it will no longer exist and it'll become something else.
You're absolutely right. Listen, my friend, it's always a pleasure. If you're down Cincinnati way, please stop in at the Main Event Training Camp. We'd love to have you.
I'd love to be there.
All right. Today we've been hanging with Tough Enough's head trainer, Al Snow.